Good morning. This is Sherita Herring with Beverly Hills to Barnyard, and you're listening to the WCEG network on WCEGtalkradio.com, or watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, and the WCEG network. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Like WCEG on Facebook, follow on Twitter or Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio, and at WCEG Network. Last but not least, the topics and opinions are those of the show hosts and guests and not the WCEG Network. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now, this is the second show that I'm having this special guest. Ethel Rucker. We befriended each other back in California. I don't know what year it was, but since that time, she has been like a sister. I have watched her and her pastor husband do some amazing things in the community. Now, she is an executive pastor and best-selling author and speaker. She has authored 2 books titled From Misery to Marital Bliss and Purpose, Passion, and Profits. She's married to her wonderful husband for 40 years, and she is a mother and grandmother. Pastor Ethel and her husband, Senior Pastor Donald Rucker, jointly oversee the Christian Development Center in Montclair, California, that has accomplished astonishing outcomes. And let me just give you a few of them. They've distributed food and clothing to over 5,400 families annually, educates and serves over 600 families annually through their partnering classes, Joshua Project and NRooted Love ministries. They've served and administered COVID-19 tests during the pandemic. They clothed orphans, children, and widows. They partnered with Every Nation campus in reaching thousands of students annually for Jesus Christ, and collaborated with 30 local businesses and agencies to serve the greater San Bernardino County. I'm thinking of San Benito up in Northern California. So anyway, without further ado, Ethel, thank you for coming back.
Thank you so much, Sherita, for having me. It's truly an honor to be here.
Yes, and thank you for being here so early since you're on Pacific time. This is 2 hours difference.
It's okay. I'm an early riser anyway, so it's all good. It's just putting on a little makeup today.
Me too. Well, I want to start out by talking about your books. So which one would you like to talk about first?
Oh, From Misery to Marital Bliss.
Good, because that's where I want to go in our later conversation. So first, what is the title about? Why the title?
Oh, that title came from the first 3 years. My husband and I have been married for 40, but the first 3 years, my goodness, we were bobbing and weaving because we didn't know how to get along, Sherita. I believe a lot of people love each other, but they lack the tools, and we lack the tools. Without positive role models, his father wasn't there for him. My father wasn't there for me. So we didn't know what it looked like. And my role models were Leave It to Beaver and I Love Lucy. Okay, so that's all I had.
Yes.
Right. And so the misery part was that we just didn't know how to get along, even though we loved each other. So then God downloaded 10 principles in order to teach us and revolutionize our relationship and turn it from misery to the bliss that we have today.
Oh, what a blessing is that, because after we get past that, oh, I'm so in love stage, what teaches us how to do what you're saying in your book? So are there some highlights that you can give us from the book that you think would be some great pointers?
Oh, yeah. Number one, I love is submission, because for me, especially for African American women that I meet, and I meet a lot of them, that word makes our skin crawl. And I believe it's because it's been taught incorrectly in the church. I truly do believe that. They made the women feel like that Christ didn't redeem them and didn't place them right back in a valuable, precious, amazing position to walk hand in hand with their partner and in dominion and authority with their partner, and not the competition with each other. But when you understand God's heart, he said man, he was talking to the male and the female. And when we learn submission means submitting one to another, in the respect it talks about in Ephesians, as we submit one to another, that's what God was talking about, not someone dominating over you.
Not just the woman being submissive and the man being, as far as our boss. Now, honoring him as the man, but both working jointly, being submissive. Okay.
That
Okay.
was and when God taught me that, it was like, okay, I get that.
Yeah.
Because at
Yeah.
first, you hear like you have no voice, you're not valuable, your opinions, your thoughts, your ideas don't matter. But that never was God's heart. When Pastor and I learned that, and we began to operate from that oneness principle, which we
Hmm.
understand a lot of people don't talk about in the church. It's a oneness principle. He said the two shall become one. What did he mean? That we
Right.
learn to
Right. Right.
work together as one.
Now tell me this, because especially now that women can even now have our own bank accounts, work, buy our own homes, do all the things that not too long ago we could not do. It's a lot of times when you have been given all of that, you feel protective and you want to make sure that you protect your independence and all of that. But it does not have to be that way as far as feeling like, don't touch this.
Right.
Again, it's about understanding how to just relinquish
Mhm.
feeling that way, right?
Yeah, and giving and taking. And trust has to be built, of course, in any relationship so that you can relinquish things and give things over. I always tell women we're not doormats and we're not dumb and we're not ignorant. If the male in the relationship is not able to handle the finances, then you may be the one. And Pastor and I
Right,
also teach from a marriage is really like a business in the sense that who you have to have rules, you have to have policies, you have to have procedures, and who's good at doing what. And it may
right,
not be the man, it may be the woman. Then
right,
that's where that submission comes in and that yielding comes in and that understanding because we want the good of the whole. We want this business to be successful. We want to move it from the red to black. And we always start our workshops off with, if your marriage were a business, would it be operating in the red and the black? And then we ask them how would they move it to the black. So we give those
yes,
principles and those tools in order to help them because that submission thing has been so mistaught and so misrepresented. Women get all, but when you think about if a man is really submitted unto the leadership of Jesus Christ and he loves him, then he's going to love that wife. He's going to cultivate. He's going to build. He's going to help her with her dreams. That's what he's going to do because that's what our Lord and Savior does for us.
right, right, right. Yes, and we can think of that word submissive in such a negative way when actually it's just about when you love someone, you're going to do what it takes to hear them, to see how you can work together. I mean, it's all part of that. Um, because I myself, even here running the farm, I can be strong in so many different ways, but I cannot wait to have a strong man in my life so that I want to back up. I want to. I'm like that female tiger. I'll protect my cubs because I need to, but I like having someone that can be my lead, but still know how to be submissive. But he's got to be someone that also has a very strong personality himself. When we are very driven, I understand now, Ethel, about being evenly yoked, and that's not a negative. It has to be someone when you're a strong-willed woman. It has to be someone that also is a strong-willed man,
Mhm.
and but he also too knows how. It's all about learning how to lead. See, being a good leader, I've learned, is not just being strong, because if you do not know how to listen, if you don't know how to back up and let someone else lead, then you're just taking a long walk for you to look around and anybody else follow you.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah,
absolutely true. It's so funny
right,
because as you read our story, my husband came from, I was in the church. I grew up in the church and he
right.
came from the streets. So
Mm,
he had so in the natural, when we say equally yoked, in the natural, I wouldn't have been equally yoked with him, according
mm-hmm,
to you see what I'm saying? He
uh-huh.
didn't have initially the things that everybody said, well, he should have this, because they always tell me, you're going to marry this anointed man of God, da 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 da. Da. Well, he is that now.
Yes,
But they always come, my husband and I always teach seed form.
yes,
And God uses seed as you are in the barn, seed. There's a seed. He's in there. That king is in there, Ethel. That guy is in there. And you're gonna have to bring me, in this I'm using my life, have to speak the desired results, the desired end, which is one of the principles God gave me. Call out that man that's loving. Call forth that man's respectful. Call forth that man's honoring. Call forth that man that loves God. Call him forward because he's in there. And I
yes,
begin to do that. And because the Bible also says that we have the power, life and death is in the power of our tongue. When I was going around talking about he's no good, he's this, he's that, or whatever, talking to my friends and talking him down, guess what? I ate the fruit of that. But when I begin to line my words up with what God said about him, I'm eating the fruit of that today. I had to change. I had to do a lot of changing for me. You know, I don't know about any other women, but I know for me, because I'm strong too, like you said.
Yeah.
He
Yes.
was too, because he was from the streets. He had a different mindset. And so God had to help me understand. But that mindset is what I needed. That's what we have today. It just had to be, God said, that ego's good. That ego gets him up every morning to go to work and provide for you. It just has to be brought under his lordship. And that was in my time of prayer. My time of prayer, which I tell women, they don't always get it. That prayer time is crucial, because that's when God's going to download and give us and them insight into your mate, insight in how to build, how to do whatever it is that's needed. He gave me that. It all came from him, Sherita.
Yes, I'm sure. And see, the thing is, though, but you saw something in him. You saw his spirit. Because even when I was working with the men in the prison, it's not that someone either come from the street or is in prison or whatever. Their heart will still show up. And so life things will make them do some of the things that they've done or the reasons that they're in the street or whatever. But their heart condition will come through. It's almost like even my son, although I was in a court case with my son. He was looking at doing probably 15 to 20 years. He was selling drugs. It was some years ago. And thank God that when I was sitting there in court, and I had put together this huge book about who is my son, from him teaching at a young age to youth at the youth camps, to being away at college and working with youth, to all those things, right? And I'm sitting there in court and I'm holding onto this book, hoping that I can give it to the judge. And a sheriff comes and taps me on my shoulder while court's going on now. And he says, "Are you Miss Herring?" And now after I'm panicking, I'm holding the book tighter and I'm like, "Yes." And I almost start to cry. And he said, "Can I see you in the hallway?" And I said, "Yeah." And now I'm excuse me. And I'm getting through the aisle and I get outside. He said, "Ma'am, your son sent me out here." And he said, "Go check on my mama." And so I'm like, "How did you even know who I was?" Because the court was full. He said, "The way your son described you, there was no way that I could have missed you." I don't know what my son said. But then he said, "Let me tell you something." He said, "I've been a sheriff here in this jail system for more than 20 years. And he said, I have never met a more ethical drug dealer." And I never thought that I could say that in the same sentence. You know? And so the thing is that, and that's what I mean when people will see your heart condition. And there is something that you saw in that husband, in that man.
Let me tell you what I saw. Let me give you this first, Sherita, and I appreciate that story. Equally yoked, for Pastor and I, we've learned this. Equally yoked in the Bible means yoking a younger ox with a stronger one. See, God yoked me with my husband because he didn't have the character integrity. He didn't have that when I married him. He had none of that. But God said, "Okay, but I put it in you. Now I'm going to yoke you with somebody that needs what I put in you."
What you needed.
What God had groomed me, He had poured into me, He had made me who I was, saying, "You're valuable, you're precious, you know who you are, you're loved by me. Now I need you to pour that love into him." So God takes a strong person and then he yokes some. That's what he meant when he was talking about that. But anyway, and so because my husband came from a background where, he had a lot of brokenness, and that's why he was doing the drugs and on the streets and all that. Well, in the natural, that's what I'm saying, it wouldn't look like God would put me with him, because that wouldn't look equally yoked. Right. You understand what I'm saying? But God knew. I didn't know his heart, because he didn't. Them first 3 years are miserable. That's what I did not see his heart. God told me that was him. That's what all I had was God's word. And God said, when he came through the door in my story, he said, "That's your husband." And he told my husband, "That's your wife." That's all we had. And we trusted that we heard God. And that's what we built it on, is God's word to us. And
right. And see, again, we think that equally yoked means financially. We think that equally yoked means same career path or whatever. There are pieces of our personalities and who we are that will make us equally yoked. And the other part is a learning process.
Very much all of it.
Yeah,
And learning
yeah,
each other. Exactly. That was another thing with the temperaments. When we learned each
right,
other's temperaments, which are
yeah,
different. I'm phlegmatic. I'm like real laid back, real chill. And he's more methodical and meticulous and
uh-huh,
organized. Well, those bring each balance in the relationship. It brings the balance. God knew that. He knew what he had put in each of us. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Yeah.
Well, tell me about your workshops that you offer.
Okay, we do. They're called well, NRooted Love because of what we went through. Those workshops we offer every quarter at the church, and what we do is we take them through different scenarios, how to teach them how to get along and have healthy conflict resolution, how to put your vision for your marriage. Why God put you two together? What did He have in mind? Not what you had in mind. What did He have in mind for you? When you find that your purpose, then you guys can come together. A lot of times purpose out trumps love because now we have a purpose. We're working together for this business
Right,
or
right,
goal or whatever, right?
right,
And then teaching people how to listen with the heart, not from a judgmental or critical or
right,
demeaning place, things
right.
like that. We teach them how to their finances. Sometimes
Yes,
people different philosophies around finances, which we both had. He was a spender. I was more like, let's invest, let's save. Well, we filed bankruptcy 2 years in our relationship. Some women have
hmm,
walked away, but we had to walk through all of that because he didn't know. He came from poverty. I mean, I did too, but my mother was a generous giver, so I saw her model that for me. And
right.
so that was like in the beginning, we were like, he was spending, spending, spending. I'm trying to say. So we teach people. Now we're very successful on the same page. We got on the
Right,
same
right,
page.
right, right.
But it took some years. It took some years, right? And
Hmm,
so we teach all those kind of how to communicate effectively, how to
hmm.
honor, how to respect, and of course the submission portion, which is huge because we're not doormats.
Yes, yes.
We have voice. Mhm.
Do you only offer them in person at the church, or do you also have virtual classes
Yeah.
that you can offer?
Recently, we have done some virtual. People are not able to come here, so they've requested us to do it online, and we do it. We do it for them. We set up a
Okay.
time every week, and we meet them. And of course, they pay us for it, and we teach them
And
the
you know
same
there's a
thing.
grant for that. You and I,
Really.
we really need to talk about that because, especially during COVID and since COVID,
Mhm.
um, couples may need some individual counseling and to go through your workshops. And so, Ethel, I'd love to show you dollars that are available for you guys to provide those services to individual couples.
I would love that because that's our heartbeat, and we love all that. So yes,
Hmm,
thank you for
hmm.
asking. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So now the two of you pastor together at the church. And
We do.
again, like I was sharing with you, I've had a client that she was even afraid of retiring because she said, Sherita, me and my husband haven't spent a lot of time together in over 30, 40 years. And
Mhm.
she was truly afraid. That was part of her fear of retiring. And so, but the two of you are together all the time. You're married, you're pastoring a church together, you're running programs together.
Mhm.
And so something you're doing is right.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And
Thank
so that's why, I'd like to talk to you more about being able to offer that as a pastor
you.
and we're in this day and age and a pastor and a female. What are some of the hurdles that you feel that you may need to get over? Hello, Oliver. I've
Hi,
got a
Oliver.
visiting dog that my listening audience needs to meet Oliver.
Oh, cute. Some of the hurdles for me as being a pastor's wife, being a female pastor, has always been the male dominated mindset that still runs rampant in churches. They still
Ah,
don't see women a lot of times as pastors and bishops and things like that, even though God says there's no male, female in him. And I says he can use a donkey, he can use anybody, right? But
mm,
those are some of
yeah.
the hurdles. And then the women on the other side, sometimes they feel the same way. So you kind of have to know they don't feel accept you a lot of times as pastor because they look to the man. So
Uh-huh.
that's so you get it from both sides. So you just
Uh-huh.
have to know that God has called you. For me, I just look at it like this, Sherita. I was called to serve.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just serving my gift. It just happens
Yes.
to be this is where God, the position he asked me, but I've never been into titles. My heart is just to serve. So
Yeah.
that's what I do. So that, if anything, you just have to know what God's called you to do and just keep your blinders on and do what he asked you to do. Because I'm going to have to stand before him and give account to him to what he asked me to do. So that's a hurdle, and it continues to be. I just don't let it I don't let it distract me, because I know I didn't call me. I wouldn't have called
Yes.
me to this because of all the stuff that goes with it. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? But because
Yes.
he called, I say
Yes.
yes.
And then, and again, that word submissive comes up into our mind. A lot of times we don't realize in different things that we do in our life, we have to learn how to be submissive. Okay, if they don't want it to happen this way, God still wants me to do this. So what other way can I do it that I can get the objective accomplished? You know, and we always think that we need to bully into something when there's just so many other ways to address it.
Absolutely. And that's me. I'm in different business meetings. I'm with CEOs, I'm with mayors and all that. And because
Yes.
God taught me to submit, like you said, I don't go in there I go in there just like, really, I'm here to help. That was how our homeless program and things that we're doing, we came and asked the mayor, how can we come alongside you? And how can we serve you? How can we help you? And that's
Yes.
what he says. And that's what we do. We move in those different ways, and God's favor and his grace. And he keeps opening up doors and keep bringing partnerships, because they see your strength. Yeah, they see that you're intelligent, but you're not bullish. You're not aggressive. You're none of that.
Mm-hmm.
You just move in that grace that God has placed on our lives.
You know, I don't want this show to go without us talking about what just happened here in the United States about the eclipse.
Mm.
And now they're in California. Did you get any of the eclipse? Because here in Arkansas, we were right in the path.
Yeah, I didn't really see any of it in
Oh,
California.
okay. It was so emotional for me. For one, if you do not believe in God, I mean, just the miracle of that and watching that was so emotional. Um, but and the night before we had movie night here with my campers, and we showed this movie called Bar- Barabbas. And now, is Barabbas an actual? Do you know if he is an actual person in the Bible? And was he the one that they choose to be free
Yes,
versus Jesus being crucified?
absolutely. Yes.
Okay, because the movie that we showed, they shot the film in Italy
Mhm.
and during an eclipse. So when they showed the film of Jesus being crucified and that time when it got dark, it was an actual eclipse happening in 1961, which is why I chose that movie to show to the campers. But the entire movie was about Barabbas.
Mm.
And so I don't know, does the Bible even talk further about him, or they just mention that he was the one chosen to live?
Yeah, they just mentioned that in the Bible. They don't talk any further about him.
Oh, okay. So everything else was just kind of made
Hollywood.
up. Okay. Before we're down to a few. I think we got about less than 10 minutes. Tell my audience how they can reach you.
Oh, okay. You can reach us at www.christiandevelopmentcenter.org. You can reach us at nrootedlove.com.
And
And you
that's the
can also,
letter N
yeah,
before
the letter.
rooted.
Mhm. And then you can reach us on Facebook, Ethel Ruckers on Facebook. You can reach us on Instagram, which is Develop My Christian. And that's pretty much where you can reach us.
Good, 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 good. And is that where they can also get your books?
Oh, yeah. If they want our book, they would have to come through our organization, which is Christian Development Center. So if they go to www.christiandevelopmentcenter.org and let me know that they want it, and they put it in the little part on there, we send it out to you. We'll mail it directly to you.
Okay. Now, what is
Okay.
the other book?
It's Purpose, Passion, and Profits. I
What
wrote a
is
chapter in
that?
that. Oh,
Because I
that one's
saw that smile. I mean,
well, the beauty about that book is I have a mentor. His name is Kyle Wilson. He's Jim Rohn's 18-year business partner. Jim Rohn has gone on. Kyle knows so many amazing people across so many landscapes, and he's my business mentor. He reached out to me when Trump was president, and they were trying to take that tax from the churches and nonprofit back then.
yes.
And so we were asked to go to Washington, D.C. and to talk about that as a nonprofit. So we went, my husband and I got this email from Kyle, and Kyle said, Ethel, I'm writing this book, Purpose, Passion, and Profit, and I would like for you to put your story in there, because millions of people need to hear your story, Ethel. It's amazing. And I said, it will help so many marriages and relationships. And I was like, I went to my husband, submission, baby, would it be okay if I write this book with Kyle? And he said, sure, I'll trust you.
Yeah. But you
And
know
so,
what? That's respect. That's the kind of thing that should happen on either side. And so a lot of people just think that that's just what the woman should do, but that's respect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so Kyle then became, so he put me in the book, and he did it as just to bless me, because he wanted the word to get out. So that's why I smile, because it's been such a blessing in our lives, in our ministry, and all the people he's bringing into our lives that are connecting to the work that we're doing is phenomenal, and it's amazing. And he's such a generous person. And I'm going to be with him in Baltimore, Philly in a couple of weeks with, I don't know if you heard of this guy by the name of Kevin Eastman. He wrote this book, The Best of the Best, and he's coached like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, all those people. So all those people. And so I get to meet with him and sit with him and talk to them about those kind of things. And I always believe, so you were asking me, that's why I'm so excited, because Kyle has been a generous contributor to our ministry. My husband wrote a book with him, Next Level Your Life, and he's just been a giver, sowing. So,
outstanding. You know what? It's so wonderful to have great people in what we call our tribe, and that are supportive, and not only in just because you guys were in a book together, but they support and respect what you do outside of that. And so, well, again, Ethel, it is so wonderful to have you on again. We're going to be going on hiatus here at the radio station after May 15th. But following that, I'd love to have you come back again, and let's talk about what you've been doing in community.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Sherita. It's always an honor.
Thank you. Again, this is Sherita at Beverly Hills to Barnyard, and I just bring up a few things that we have coming up. On April 20th, here in Marlton, Arkansas, I am conducting a large community grants forum at the historic Rialto Theater. And the tickets are only $15. We're extending that early bird for another week. And so please, if you are local in the Conway County area or surrounding areas, let me show you how there are grants not only from your farm, where you can get farm equipment, just like I was part of a grant that just did the burn, the prescribed burn here on the land, but I'm also writing a grant to restore the old house that's here. Or you might be a beautician in a rural area. There are rural development dollars for-profit businesses if you're in a small area that serve 150,000 people or less. Now, if you're not in Arkansas, I will also be having a live Zoom during this session. So if you're wanting to expand your nonprofit, thinking of doing something new in community, wondering if there are grants just for you, please, I think the tickets are $10 right now for the Zoom. And go to my website at philanthropyalliance.org, philanthropyalliance.org, and you will see Grant Forum at the Rialto. Please join me, because so much money goes back every year and people just don't know. So often we think that the nonprofit means you can't make a profit. But did you know that the PGA, the Professional Golf Association, is a nonprofit? The National Hockey League is a nonprofit. The Oscars is put on by the Oscars Foundation. There are so many nonprofit entities that you see and deal with every day in your everyday life that you just aren't aware. Now, the professional golfers are not nonprofit. The hockey league teams are not nonprofit. But let me show you why organizations like that can be a nonprofit. So again, join me, whether virtually or in person, at the Grants Forum coming up on April 20th. That's going to be from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Time. So go to the website, find out more. Again, this is Sherita Herring with Beverly Hills to Barnyard. Thank you for tuning in. Again, every Wednesday, you can catch me with my wonderful guests. Thank you again to Ethel for being on, Ethel Rucker out of California, in Montclair, California. Have a great week and a great weekend. See you next week.